Hello. So I've been working a lot on films, so sorry for my long absence. I delivered two features in the last couple weeks, so I've been doing a lot of exporting, and it's been nuts. So I had a question a few weeks ago about, how would I approach using the OB-6 to make a particular sound from the Annihilation movie soundtrack. And sort of a weird sideways answer is I wouldn't use the OB-6 because listening to that I was like, oh, well, this sounds more like a Moog. Mostly because, I don't know, there's some like filtering stuff that's happening that sounds more like Moog to me. But I am going to attempt to do it on the OB-6, and then I'm going to show you how I would do it on the Moog. So you kind of have both. So what I have here is an initialized sound, just a sawtooth. So the particular sound we're talking about is sort of this like synth brass kind of sound. So that's where we're starting from is, how do we make synth brass? So we start with a sawtooth wave, and we need to have it kind of swell in like that. Not going to have to mess too much with attack, decay, or with decay, sustain, or release, because it's really, all of this is in the attack. And same thing with the filter side, is we need the filter to open. A little more than that. So what I'm going to do is set up kind of a slower attack, like medium slow attack, and I have to find the right settings for the sustain on the filter envelope. All the way up, I think, is the answer, because we need... Okay, let's get in the right direction. It's a question of how open. And maybe we want the sustain to be down a little bit, and the decay to kind of come down to it a little faster. A little faster decay. Little less amount of the envelope. I'm getting there. Okay, and again, this is sort of like the filter's a little bit not perfect for this sound. So then the other part of the sound is the detuned nature of it. So I have to have two oscillators at least. And I'm going to put this at a sawtooth as well. So you hear we're kind of already getting a little closer. And let's detune the second oscillator. And we've got to find the magic. Alright. And again, I'm still bothered by the filter. The cool thing about this is sort of like good movie soundtrack choices. There's all this ambient stuff and all this stuff washed out into reverb. All these pads, all that stuff. And then cutting through the middle of it is this very dry sound. I'm going to use the detune knob a little bit, and I'm going to leave my effects off. Okay, now we're getting there. And then after this, it just kind of becomes like getting the filter frequencies right. Right? Maybe a little more. And that's probably about as close as you're going to get with the OB-6. I could make myself a little nuts and kind of mess with this more and more. But this will get you in the general direction of, so, synth brass is sort of like medium slow attack on both the amplitude and the filter. And we just need the, filter knob to come up and go back down a little bit to get that swell. And then the detuned part of this is what is giving it its sound. So let's jump over to the grandmother so I can show you how I would do it over there. Okay, and we've moved over. I kind of need to rethink my setup a little bit for YouTube. My setup's really great right now for writing, but not so great for making tutorials. So this is my setup for the Moog. And it's the same kind of idea. So what I've done is I've set the oscillators in unison here. They're both at, 16 feet. Although it kind of doesn't matter. You transpose the keyboard where you're trying to go. No reverb. Very important. you see my attack is set not, at the lowest setting. It's kind of in the middle. Sustain, decay. I've got kind of like everything sort of not all the way maxed out. Release is set pretty short. And then this is all about setting up a synth brass sound, right? So you get those swells, sawtooth waveforms, and then we detune the second oscillator. So this is not in the middle of the frequency knob. As I turn this up, so that's really the secret. We're using a sawtooth waveform. We're detuning the second oscillator. We're kind of finding the magic here with our envelope, which is a little bit, not a fast attack. On the Moog, decay is sort of a funny thing because I feel like this knob has a different range than the other ones. Sustain is not all the way up because we want the filter to open and then come a little bit shut. So we get that sort of attack and then a pullback. I've got my filter cut off around 200 hertz. And it seems to do the job for the sound we're looking for. So I hope this gives you some ideas to play with. I think the thing to really take from this is that it's a dry sound. It's a dry lead sound. And when you want something to cut through and make an impact, you take the reverb off because it brings it right to the front. And then sort of the other step of this is like this very specific detuning of the second oscillator to kind of make things feel unnerving. So I hope that gives you some ideas to play with.